welcome to my Midsummer Night's Dream vlog. I don't know. This is just sort of a roundup post of all the things that I need to talk about for Midsummer Night's Dream production and the role I hope to be doing, which is makeup, in the production of the final major project this year. Yeah, obviously. Okay, so we had a couple things to respond to, one of them being how makeup helps with career progression. It was how the role we chose helps with the career progression, sorry. So I want to be, and I want to act, I want to be an actor. I want to work in theatre, in film, whenever I can. I love to act, obviously. So, going off of that, I think it's really helpful to have an actor who's competent in makeup, who can confidently put it on every single night so the makeup team doesn't have to worry about it. It's just a great thing to pop on your CV as well, and now I have actual experience, hopefully, in doing makeup work, so I have something to base that in. But yeah, it's really helpful to have an actor who can just like whack on the makeup, not have to worry about it, can do it like as well as it needs to be done every single night, especially if it's a long running show. Also, I think it means I will be able to contribute creative ideas for characters that I may get in the future for roles. I feel like it's, when working with like makeup and stuff like that, it's really important for the makeup team to work with the rest of the creative team, obviously, and work with the director and the creative things he wants to do, they want to do with the production. But it's also really important to work with the actors as well. Whilst they might not be able to make decisions in some more lenient shows, I know definitely in up-and-coming ones you can make design choices and decide like why would the character be doing this, which brings me on to my next point, is it I feel like it would really help with characterization of roles. So getting into things like, why have the makeup team chosen to have blue on my face? Why have I've got it splattered across, you know? What does this mean, and how can I play up to that so it's more obvious on stage? Which leads into my next point, which is exploring what the makeup means for the character and letting that allow me to develop it as I work with a character. And what acting things I can do with the makeup. So, for example, with face paint or like avant-garde things, because with like practitioners like Burkoff, face paint is very key to how the acting is done. You play up to it and you over draw your face so it's over gestured and it goes with the sort of tone. So being able to read from what I've been given by the makeup team and bounce off of that and use it to make my acting work amazing. So also, it just gives me flexibility within the theatre world in general, which is something that everyone looks for. Everyone looks for flexibility in jobs, but being able to adapt to different areas, being able to problem solve things that can come up. Obviously, problem solving is a massive thing in theatre, especially backstage. Putting out fires is a thing for stage managers, but I feel even if you're an actor on the stage, it's still important that you could at any moment like help pick up the slack somewhere else, or help just, I think it's really important to be flexible within theatre is what I'm saying. Also, it means that if I'm ever acting in a job and there's like the makeup team is understaffed, or if just something goes wrong, I have the ability to help out other actors backstage who might be struggling with doing their makeup. So I could do my own and then, you know, go over and help someone just quickly do that for their face before they go on, you know? So I think it's really important to help each other and lift each other up within theatre, within like a cast and stuff like that, instead of focusing just exclusively on yourself. It's really important to work as a team, and that's how I feel. Also, yeah, because of all the ensemble work that we've done and all the ensemble work that we'll be doing, it's just helping work in a team and helping understand the way life works in a real life theatre instead of just in school productions, which is another great thing that this role is helping me with career progression. Also, it's a backup. Backups are always backups. Also, examples of problem solving throughout the thing. Like I said, problem solving is really important within theatre. So, one example I've got straight away is we were asked to use, by Nige, asked to use white as the colour for the supernaturals, which are the fairy characters, if you don't know, for the supernaturals in Midsummer Night's Dream. So, for starters, the problems that shoot up immediately are, one, white makeup's going to be really hard to see in this stage, especially, I think, in the Barnfield, which is the theatre in Exeter, which has got a really, like, long audience. So makeup's going to be really hard to see. White makeup especially is going to be really hard to see from the stage. And also, like, we need to face the fact we're in Devon, we'll be doing white paint on white actors, majoritively, so it'll blend in, essentially. Like, if I were to put a white face paint on the side of my face now, you'd definitely be able to see it, but you would not be able to see it on stage, and you wouldn't be able to see details either, obviously. So the ideas I had with that is we could use UV paint for the whites, so that when the fairies are on stage we can pop a black light on and then they'll have that glowing supernatural feel to them. So not only will it problem solve but also add a little bit to the characters. And then if not, use maybe like darker bases, so like blacks and greys on the face to build off on. So for example, just grabbing like a black eyeshadow along the contour of the face just here, and then layering over like a white henna design on top, so that it will pop and you'll be able to see it, and also gets a spooky thing going again for the supernaturals. Okay, another problem that popped up, at least for myself, for the supernaturals was that we had to be inspired by Indian street culture, which I think is lovely, but also Indian culture is very ripe in colour. It's literally everywhere. They have a festival called Holi, which is the celebration of colour. It's a colour festival. They throw powders and chalks at each other, which is something I was interested in looking at Oberon. More on that later. So my idea to work around that, to be able to make it seem as colourful and wonderful as it is without just throwing colour on them, is maybe using different shades of whites, different blacks and greys and stuff like that. So they're still it's still like multi-dimensional colours on the actors instead of just flat white, and also potentially using silver. I looked into this very, very briefly, but the sparkle that will catch the light and also make them look that more glorious and resplendent. So another thing that I faced is I felt strange only doing one group, so based in culture. I got that, like, obviously they're foreign, then like we're basing them in Indian street culture because that's come from the script, and also it's just, yeah, they're meant to be like different from, you know, the traditional life. But what I really was interested in trying is figuring out how I could give so much like weight to the other groups, because Indian culture is massive. It's just so lovely. I wanted to give something like that to each of the groups. So I did a lot of research into different Asian cultures and sort of assigned one for each group. Well, two for one, you'll get it. I'll talk about it in a second, but assigned them for each group, and based on like art, traditional art, and then modernising it up and stuff like that. So working with different cultures as well, which is something I'm really excited to try. Also, just one more little thing is we don't know the gender of any of the people being cast or anything like that. So it was very important to keep the makeup androgynous. So like with the Padlet page you'll see linked in this post, it's like obviously it's going to be very female heavy because unfortunately the makeup world is still very female heavy, but a lot of the makeup I've chosen is very avant-garde and very adaptable to every face, and it's not going to be, it can take feminine moments and it can take masculine moments, but neither one of them are strictly one gender. So that's something I worked around as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the work in general for a second. So we have the groups of the Supernaturals, which were White and India. We had the Lovers, which I was torn between pink and gold for. I wanted to keep my options open so that Nige, our director, could choose whichever ones he wants, which is important to be adaptable. The Lovers, pink or gold. The Royals, pink or gold, and then the Mechanicals as blue. And yes, so I did the Lovers / Royals as Chinese / Japanese culture. There's a reason they're intertwined, I'll talk about it in a second. And the Mechanicals as the Philippines. So I'll go into Supernaturals first because I've touched on them a lot already. So I loved the idea of working with white henna. The second I found out we were doing the colour white for the Supernaturals and trying to base it in Indian culture, my mind went straight to white henna and different things I can work on with that. So that you'll see a lot throughout my mood board for the Supernaturals. I also wanted to work with like the Festival of Colour. I love the idea of having Oberon or maybe his side of the fairies like looking like they've had these colours thrown at them, but had the colours, like when they were in their homeland they had these colours thrown at them, and then when they left they got drained out as they went farther away. I don't know, that might seem like a strange concept, but that's where my mind was at. So yeah, that's one of the ideas I had. Also, I didn't want them to look lovely, like glorious fairies. And then when I was searching around, I saw this gorgeous Indian woman with like bindi and all, and like this gorgeous face jewelry with like a skull on the lower half of her face, and instantly it just screamed Titania at me. I was just like, yes, that's fabulous. I love that for her. I love it being strong. And I love it being supernatural. I love them being more grim and more like not gorgeous fairies. They're like little gremlins almost. So really interested in working for Titania's fairies on her side on like the skull look and like the sunken in, which is where we can bring in that black base I was talking about earlier on. And then maybe for Oberon's side of the fairies to work more on the muscular system. So if we're doing skeletal for Titania, like maybe drawing lines for Oberon's fairies like within the colours of the thing and highlighting with silvers to give that muscle look and to like make them look exposed and really quite creepy, hopefully. But yeah, that was one of my ideas. What else was I coming up with? I think that's the base for the makeup for the Supernaturals, so I'll move quickly on. The other one I was most confident with was the Mechanicals. So I had a lot of ideas for these ones, starting a lot of them outside of the Asian culture I chose for them. So I found lots of makeup inspired by graffiti and artwork, which is something Nige mentioned would feature in the piece, I think, at the beginning. So I wanted to at least explore the idea of having like graffiti up over an eyebrow. And then whilst we were doing our presentations of these, Nige said, oh well, we were talking about having Mechanicals apply the makeup to each other on stage because they're the actors, which I think would look amazing, especially if they all did different graffiti tags on each other's like face and shoulders for each different thing, so their makeup would end up different every night, which really suits the Mechanicals role. As you know, the commoners. So I did a lot of makeup then inspired by paint and inspired by like dust and things we'd see with the craftsmanships that they have within the play, like their painters and their, I think, not plumbers, but I don't know, I can't remember, but they're craftsmen. So they having like paint streaks to frame the face, and then bolder looks as well because they're funny and they're like traditionally clown type. So looking bold and going in and being over gestured and stuff like that. And also if we're using like, I really love the idea of using non-traditional ways to apply makeup. So at one point I found a picture of someone applying makeup through blowing it through a straw, and whilst I think this would be funny to watch, it's not really practical, but there's one gorgeous photo of a woman who's had like a fan brush that's been laid out and then drawn just lines across her face, or like just like in the eye area, and then like dashing in different places, and I really love that frantic energy for the mechanicals. So that's one of the photos I've got. And then the Asian culture I chose for the mechanicals was the Philippines. This is because they have got these festivals of light and performance and like production, and they're really gorgeous and rich and beautiful colours and patterns. So when looking into Philippinian, I can't remember, looking into their traditional art and their like weaving and things like that, I found lots of lovely block patterns, which goes with the idea I was talking about earlier on of having block patterns and like different colours, different shades of blue for like denim and stuff like that. So yeah, that was the ideas I had for mechanicals of working with that culture. And then for the lovers and the nobles, I was tied between pink and yellow for gold. So I pretty much did it so lovers were pink and nobles were gold. Drawing with lovers, I was interested in the culture of China because of those gorgeous traditional drawings of the plum blossoms. So those little red flowers that look almost like cherry blossoms. The concept of like when it's a more natural love that between the humans, so Hermia, Helena, Lysander and Demetrius. I'm so proud of myself. So between Helena and Lysander, their flowers on their face being like a softer pink, because it's a natural love and it's a love ruled by emotion and stuff like that. And then once they've been potioned, or once like especially Demetrius at the end, having like the dark, almost red flowers on their faces to show like that they're being driven by passion and almost lust, which I think really goes with the idea of how the potion is portrayed throughout the piece. So I think that would be a really interesting concept to find. And also found this lovely gorgeous photo of this Chinese actress who went to an award show with traditional Chinese makeup on, with the plum blossom here and really lovely soft almost red eyeliner, and I thought that looked lovely. And I think that would look really nice for Helena, who's almost a noble, and stuff like that. That's interesting to work around. And then for the royals, I looked a lot into Japanese culture, so using Japanese / Korean. I wasn't entirely sold on, I'm not like wasn't against either of them, so using like the traditional art and things like that, but also coming away from that, I loved the idea of having for example Hippolyta, I don't say that, of having like gold chains along her eyebrows, and maybe like golden tears dripping off her face because she's been forced into this noble life. She doesn't want to be there, so it's weighing down on her. Whereas I can't remember his name, Duke maybe, having the blocked out eyebrows and golden foils like coming up here, really lifting up the face and showing the pride of I'm royal and I'm like, this is a put together mask which I am perfectly putting on for you and I'm proud to be it. So we've got like stark differences between the two. And then also something I was torn between the lovers and the nobles is Japanese kitsungi bowls, which is where they fix broken pottery with gold. And I love the idea of maybe for, once again, Hippolyta, of being like broken down and then built back up with gold. So like broken down from her past identity and having to be this golden, gorgeous like woman who's got clear fractures in her face, but still does her royal duties regardless. And then I found some lovely makeup looks inspired by this. But also, I think that'd be a great idea to look at for the lovers as well. Of especially, once again, after the potions, of having this gold intertwining across their face and maybe growing throughout the show so it sparkles and glows under the stage lights and really stands out. So you can see it, obviously, and the idea of being built back up and broken down and built back up in this cutthroat society as royals and lovers and stuff like that, and magic. One last character I want to talk about is Puck, who is the only character who talks to the audience constantly, breaks the fourth wall, and pretty much messes around with everything. And he's the last one to talk to the audience to be like, was this all a dream? Ooh. So I really like the concept of him having all the colours of the pansexual flag, of doing different things to show that. So I had two main ideas of working with block colours of the pan flag around the face. So we could do it in the cheeks for like the skeletal supernatural look, but also I love the idea of doing a more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not psychotic, but like drug based. So there's a photo on my Padlet that you'll understand what I'm talking about, where the makeup is like psychedelic and like weaving off of her eyes, and doing that with the different colours of the pan flag, because in the modern adaptation of the play, I think it's very easy to draw, to say like, oh, the flower potion is just like a drug, and in that sense Puck's the drug dealer. He goes around and he deals out all these drugs and he messes with people. So maybe having a more psychedelic vibe as well is something I wanted to explore with Puck. Okay, so that's a really basic rundown of the cultures and ideas I had, but yeah. And then lastly, I'll just quickly run through some things. So for my strengths, I'd say my strengths are that I'm already quite confident in makeup, and because of the main way my mind works, I'm really quite creative and willing to adapt to the problems that come my way. I think once again through ensemble work, I've managed to really grow my team work as well. And the idea of being able to give something up and let it go instead of brewing on everything like that, I think that's one of my strengths, and my imagination is a strength of mine, I'd say, as well, especially in this area. Weaknesses, I'd say, is, while sometimes I can be, sometimes I'm really good in the team, I can also be quite stubborn as well. So that's something I'd need to work around, and I feel like a little bit prideful. So that might be a problem with being able to give up something I love working on so much. But I think that I could, when the idea that's going to come up will be better. Another potential weakness I would have is I have a lot of anxiety and other problems. So it might be at the start a tad bit hard to overcome that and make my voice heard in the team of makeup, but I really want to focus on doing that. Opportunities, I wasn't entirely sure, so like I can speak about opportunities this is giving me, but opportunities I have now is I can really unleash all the crazy in my head. I can just go at it and then shape it into something that can be seen on stage. Also gives me the opportunity to work backstage in a theatre, which I've only done once before for work experience, and see it from another side and understand how it works backstage, which is obviously really helpful in an actor, like I said earlier. And then lastly, threats that I might see. I feel like I might feel threatened because I get very protective over things that are mine, that like are very integral to me as a person. So I might feel maybe threatened by other people coming up with all these amazing makeup ideas, but I really didn't when we presented it. And I'm hoping I don't, but that might be like a threat in general to myself. Another threat, again, is making sure of getting overspoken and not heard in a group. So that's something I need to work on. That was really quick, I'm sorry, but I realise this vlog has gone on for nearly half an hour, so I'll be going now. Woo, Midsummer Night's Dream.